Welcome to the Lifestyle You podcast. I'm your host and health and fitness coach, Jenna Altman, and I'm so glad that you're here. Health and fitness don't have to be that complicated. Do you want to achieve a body you're proud of, gain physical and mental energy, and grow your confidence without giving up date night with your partner or starving yourself? The Lifestyle You podcast will provide you with the tools that you need to make your health and fitness fit into your lifestyle, not the other way around. The stories, lessons, and actionable takeaways from original episodes and guest interviews on this podcast will not only allow you to break through those limiting fears and beliefs, but also find freedom and confidence in the way that you move and fuel your body so that you can live your strongest, healthiest, and happiest life. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lifestyle You podcast. Today, we are going to be chatting about 3 tools to overcome stress eating. So I wanted to chat about this today because it's actually something that's really near and dear to my heart, because it's something that I have struggled with in the past and sometimes still struggle with. So these are actually the tools that I use real time with myself, with my clients as they are struggling with stress eating. So naturally for me, I'm one of those people that when I get stressed, I want to turn to food to help console me. And I think there are a lot of people who do the same thing. And a lot of the time it's because we're avoiding something that we don't want to handle or that we don't want to really bring to the surface, whether that's an emotion or an action or some obligation that we have. And for me, it often happens in times of stress, right? And what's interesting about this cycle is that when you stress eat, it doesn't make you feel any better, right? It makes you almost more stressed in a sense. And it's not a complementary activity to really working through and managing that stress. So here are the 3 tools that I love to utilize, again, with myself and also with my clients. So number 1 is creating awareness around the habit. So what situations, experiences, feelings, thoughts often surround your moments of stress eating? So I want you to really think of this and isolate a scenario where you were stress eating. Think about what you were doing beforehand. What were you doing during? And what were you doing after? Because when we can create more awareness around this context that's associated with the stress eating, the easier it becomes to actually come up with a solution for yourself. So the more awareness that you can create around the habit that you currently have, this could be for a good or a bad habit, but right now we're talking about something that's not so good, like stress eating. So this could be a really applicable tool for you to create more awareness around these situations in order to utilize that to come up with a game plan for how to handle it in the future situations, which we're going to talk about in here as well. So number 2 is creating a nourishment menu. So this is something that I love to utilize with my clients. It's just a list of things that make you feel good. And I want you to keep this in your note section of your phone. Keep it on a Post-it note near your desk, somewhere that you can see it every single day, because we want to opt for one of these activities instead of relying on stress eating. So for me, this often looks like paying attention to my breath, whether that's some form of breath work or meditation. Also playing with our puppy, Lottie. That's very stress relieving for me. And that's something that I utilize. Getting outside and going for a walk. This also changes the context, changes the environment, so it gets you out of that space, and it's a really good way to kind of pull yourself out of that situation. Another couple examples that I use are reading a book, going to a coffee shop, watching an episode of New Girl. If you know, you know. Best show ever. This won't be the first time that I ever plug New Girl in here, but these are the things that fill me up. These fill up my cup, and they are resources that I can utilize when I feel stressed, when I feel that stress coming on. So I know that my stress eating, because of the awareness that I've created around my habit, is directly related to stress. So when I become stressed, I want to opt for one of these other options on my nourishment menu as opposed to eating. Okay? Number 3 is incorporating more mindfulness into your meals. So there are a lot of ways that this can look, and it's one that I've been working on for quite some time. It's actually something that is really challenging to do. You'd be surprised. But the goal here is to eat your meals undistracted. So setting your phone aside, setting email aside, not reading a book while you're eating, like paying attention to the physical sensations that are going on. So as you consume the food, what flavors are there? What textures are there, right? So really paying attention to the food that you are eating. So not only does this allow us to be really present and enjoy the food that we're putting in our body, it also helps with satiety. So it helps us feel more full when we're tuning into those hunger cues, when we're tuning into how those sensations feel within our body. So a little tip that I love to use here is actually pausing before my meals to take a deep breath and rate my hunger on a scale of 1 to 5. So I do that before I eat. You can even pause in the middle of your meal if you feel like you've consumed a decent amount of your meal. You can pause midway through and kind of rate your hunger again on a scale of 1 to 5. And then you'll do the same thing after you eat. And the goal here is to not sit down for a meal when you're at a 5 out of 5 raging hunger, right? You want to get to that meal prior, because then we can create some more mindfulness. If you go in there and you're ravenous, you're probably going to end up over consuming, or you're just going to end up overeating this meal, as opposed to being more like mindful as you're going through it. So really showing up to that hunger scale before you eat a meal at like around a 4 out of 5 would be ideal. So we're not desperately starving. And then really looking to finish that meal at like a 3 or a 2. So not stuffing ourselves to the point where we're so full we can't move, but again, like having some wiggle room with that 2 to 3 and knowing that you can always come back for more later, okay? So today's food for thought is going to be, which one of these tools will you utilize in your journey? I would love to hear what you come up with, so please go ahead, message me on Instagram at @GenerateAltman. Share with me what tool you used, if you found it helpful. If you're unsure how to implement these things, absolutely shoot me a message too, and I would love to chat further about this with you. But that's all for now, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all very soon. Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle You podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star rating and review to help others discover the magic we're creating together. If there's someone in your life who could benefit from listening to this episode, be sure to forward it along to them. You can also follow me on Instagram at @GenerateAltman for more helpful content, resources, and good vibes. As always, thank you so much for being here.